Welcome back. It's me, Del Pullen, with my co-host
Steve Gutenberg.
Steve Gutenberg, and we're here today on Pilot Pass, and we're going to be reviewing Brockmire, the Hank Azaria idea that was brought to life by other people, but we both agree we care less. It's Hank Azaria, and that's what we're here for. It even says based on character created by Hank Azaria, so I'm hoping he was walking around doing this character for a bit before they finally got it up, on a show. And the tagline is Bottom of the Ninth, where he plays a baseball announcer who is going through either a midlife or two-thirds life crisis. Matt, you want to give us a better description?
Sure. Tagline is actually Rock Bottom of the Ninth. Rock Bottom of the Ninth. That tells you a lot that you'll need to know about this character. But Brockmire is a once famous Major League Baseball announcer. Oh boy, who you see in the first episode, he faces a little bit of a meltdown on air as regards to his wife and her fidelity or lack thereof. 10 years later, he comes back and is brought back to the Morristown Frackers, a minor league team owned by Julia James, who hopes that bringing Brockmire in can revitalize him and the team.
I love the name, the Frackers, too. That's a good choice there.
Do you remember the name of them before the Frackers?
No, I can't say I do.
There was something wildly racist about Indians. I don't remember what it was either. But he's like, Frackers, that's a step up from this.
I always love good racist jokes at racist team names. 30 Rock did a couple of those, and I was
the Cleveland Indians are still doing it.
Yeah, they're still a thing. The Redskins, so whatever. So let's just talk about. Really, we're talking about Hank Azaria's mainly portrayal of a character throughout most of the show. Again, like you said, the premise is pretty simple, especially for the pilot. Guy is the show starts out with him doing a either their major league or minor league broadcast.
Oh, he's in the majors when they start.
Okay, sorry. So, and he just completely breaks down and just is drunk on, while calling it out. He is insulting. He is belittling to people. He starts calling his whore wife all sorts of names, talking about how life has no meaning, and of course just becomes disgraced by that. Yeah, that's the first shot. I mean, that's the first scene in the show, and I bought it hardcore. I mean, if you're going to give me that right off the bat of Hank Azaria doing a Southern man who I can't do the voice exactly, but I'm going to try anyway. That is something a little bit like I buy like my scotch a little bit down like that, and something simple about rye whiskey.
I think you went more auction than
maybe that's what I did. But anyway, I'm going to stick with it. But yeah, a Southern man who loves his rye whiskey, has nothing to lose right off the bat. That was great.
Yes, exactly. It was something that it sets you up for about 2 minutes of, this is just going to be a baseball show. Maybe this announcer, he's talking about gelatin. It's all good. And then it just falls apart.
Yes.
In the most beautiful way possible.
Yeah. And if you don't know who Hank Azaria is, first of all, you're weird.
Where have you been?
But he's one of the main voice actors in America, but also for The Simpsons, most controversially, but he has done, half the crew, half the voices on The Simpsons have got to be Frank Azaria. I mean, Dan Castellaneta, the lady that does Bart, who also
Harry Shearer,
Nancy Cartwright, Harry Shearer, and then Frank Azaria. Hank Azaria just makes up all the rest of the voices. So if you've listened to any of The Simpsons, you've heard Hank Azaria, who's also in one of my favorite movies of all time, Quiz Show, where he plays a douchebag producer trying to get people to cheat on the quiz show. And I was like, wow, he can act even back then. And I love that movie.
Del, let me ask you a question. How did you learn about Brockmire?
I saw an advertisement for it. It's IFC, which IFC is really good. I mean, they do Comedy Bang Bang and a few other shows that I'm really proud of. So they're hit or miss, but when they're hit, they are out of the ballpark. When they are,
it used to be my favorite station. Whenever they did indie films and other stuff.
That's right. And but I was like, well, it's Hank Azaria. I'm going to get around to watching it at some point, I figured. But you were like, dude, you just put down what you're doing and go check out Brockmire. And it was your recommendation, of course, to get me to finally turn it on and start watching. But like I said, 2 minutes in, it was Hank Azaria that kept me watching. So, and really, that's what you're watching. You're watching Hank Azaria do a character. And that's the joy of the show.
The joy of the show also is his work with Amanda Peet, Julia James. Yeah. I think that the tragedy of their relationship is just magical, and it is something of wonder and amazement that starts with alcohol and it continues with alcohol, and is a big old disaster and a half. You know what? I was going to wait till later, but I'm going to throw this at you right now. We're talking Pantheon. I'm not talking second level. No offense, Reno 911. I'm not talking anything else. But for 30-minute comedies, where does this stand in the Pantheon? I don't need your answer because my answer is number 2. Number
Number 2. I would put
yes.
this in my top 15, but character driven, maybe I'd put it in my top 10. Just based on that one character. But
I had the benefit of seeing.
Yes,
I have seen the whole thing now. It's unfortunately just a few weeks ago was the last episode. So
how many episodes total? I'm on episode 4 right now.
There's 4 seasons and maybe like 10 a season, so maybe 10.
And it seems it seems again like one of those shows where we talk about where it was conceived. The entire first season was conceived of as a whole story arc. So the pilot to me was very strong because they knew where they were going, right off the bat. It wasn't an episodic type show where they were like, let's just see if it even gets picked up. This was clearly picked up as a season-long, event, a season-long show. And so it allowed them right off the bat to, as long as they got into what the characters were, the basic premise, it allowed them to start hitting the jokes. And I love shows like that where it's strong enough that, they know exactly what they're going to be right off the bat.
Yeah, completely. Yes, I'm sure that they were all ironed out basically by the first season, but this may be something that Hank has had in his head for ever. So, I mean, who really knows?
Well, like I said, I hope this is something, kind of like with, the guy played Austin Powers, Mike Myers, he was doing that character on stage for a while before somebody was like, you should maybe turn that into a movie. I just feel this feels like whenever he had a glass of scotch or rye in his hand, this is the character he went to for his friends, and to entertain some of the other maybe voice actors he works with. Because this is clearly a very adult, highly sexualized, finger in the bum type show. I don't know if it's in the pilot, but when he's having intercourse, with Amanda Pete, and he's calling the shots as if he's watching a baseball game, and he's going for the old missionary style with the in, out, up and down, finger in the rectum, a surprise move. I just lost it there too.
That was not in the pilot, but what it kind of starts off he basically narrates his entirety of life. It's when he gets dropped off. He gets dropped off on the bus, and he's standing there with his stuff, and he's like, and he sees something, and then a kid with the gun in his waist belt, and he was like, it's time for Brockmire to smoke this joint or smoke this doobie, and it was just he just narrates everything. It was so good.
Yeah, when he decides. Normally he's first person. He's not that type of personality that's always third person. But when he decides to kind of distance himself from his problems and he goes into the third person, it's brilliant how he can objectively tell what's going on too. Like he can remove himself and speak about himself even when he knows he's the asshole, or that he's wrong about something. And that just makes the character that much more insightful and delightful.
Absolutely.
But and a real bastard too. He really can be. But he hasn't been lovable yet. Well, he's lovable in the sense that we love him. I find him endearing, but he's not lovable to the characters in the show yet so far, at least by season 4 or episode 4. Sorry. But he's starting to become, a little more accepted, a little more tolerated by people.
I think that he becomes a character not unlike people you have in your life in real life. You're just like, well, that's how they are. And so if they're going to stay in my life,
Gabrish,
just going to let them be that way. Absolutely.
Shout out to my good friend, Chris Gabrish there for the show.
So the pilot episode basically follows him. We've already talked about the first scene. Then it goes to 10 years later, and he's been, I would say, a little bit finagled as to coming back home from abroad to announce a minor league team who is supposedly he's going to have this wide audience and multi-platform outlet so that he can announce the games. When it turns out he's really just the in-house announcer for the baseball team.
Yeah, I believe the way that she gets around it is, we are putting some of this on the internet, so that technically makes it multi-platform worldwide, and we are recording it. And they cut to the camera, and it's this little tiny, for the people at home, I almost want to drag out the one next to me now, but it's like a little home digital recording camera with a little DV tape. And they just have it up in the stands, or up in the announcer box with him. And there's a young black gentleman that's in high school, early college age, who's recording all the shows. Charles
will become a vital part to the show.
One of my favorite lines, it is in the pilot, but I'll go because you were always asking me this. I'll go and say it is. The one point, he just assumes Charles is gay because he's a little slightly flamboyant. He's not totally interested in sports. And he apologizes a little later and he goes, look, son, to people like me, my age, everybody in your generation is gay. We don't know how to deal with that. I thought that was a great line.
The pilot is something that really kind of, draws that line as well, because he has no idea that he's internet famous, Brockmire that is, until he comes back and then he sees the video and he's like, take it away, get rid of it, completely get rid of it. And Charles is like, it's the internet. It's just there always.
Well, like I was just say that, that recording, the very first one that you see in the prologue it goes viral. And his wife's name is Lucy, and to Lucy somebody kind of means, to fuck somebody behind their back or to screw somebody over. And so that term becomes repeated in the show. And he's like, so just everybody uses that, huh? Just people on the internet, old ladies, just.
Whoa, what do you think Lucy means?
I assume it means or is it you get screwed?
Yeah, it's you get screwed.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess
yeah, the Lucy is it's because of the friend that has. Well, I don't even know if it was a friend because she was plowing Bob Greenwald, and so that's what it.
Right.
She was.
I assumed he was like a next door neighbor or something like that. Yeah.
Everybody's in on the party with Lucy. That's for sure.
Right. That's the problem. Yeah. So, but yeah, I like that he has no idea that he's famous. He just thinks he's a nobody, and he comes in and people recognize him for the wrong reasons, but they at least recognize him. And I think that gives him a little boost to his confidence. I think he hates it, but I think he also is like it's better than being a nobody, for somebody like him.
Any press is good press.
That's right.
One of the key parts about it is when he has this meltdown, everybody says, keep it Brockmire. That's what it's become the euphemism for and stuff. And I really love that. If we
keep it true, keep it 100. Yeah.
Yep, there you go. That's what the kids are saying nowadays.
No, what the other thing I liked is the costumes are fantastic. His sports jackets are beautiful. To die for.
Oh, there's just one, and it comes with him through the whole season.
That's what I thought, because the kid commented on it once, Charles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Commented on it once, and I was like, no, that can't be. It's not the same jacket, is it? And I haven't gone back to watch, but that's a lovely blazer, and that boy, that just really kicks it home that he doesn't have much. What he has, he kind of clings to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, completely. The jacket was amazing. I think that, okay. Oh, and we didn't even talk about, of course, this young, impressionable 18-year-old that hates baseball, that's never done anything like this before in his life. He gives him some random drug from the Philippines to get high on whenever they're out on the baseball field at the end. Oh, Charles is running around like crazy. He said it's a cross between 8 cups of coffee and a mild cocaine.
Well, I like how Brockmire has clearly already gone through. He's defeated by life. Let's just admit, even this coming back is not a resurgence for him. This is just another way life is just kneecapping him. He thought he was going to have a second chance, and he feels that this is almost life screwing him over a second time and raking over the coals and embarrassing him again in a public forum. And so, like I said, I've only 4 episodes in, so I don't know if there's any kind of redeeming arc where he sees the benefit or if he truly just always stays down in the shit.
I don't think Brockmire ever redeemed anything in his entire life.
And I'm okay with that. Good, because that seems like that kind of character. I don't need every character to be lovable for the right reasons. They can be lovable for the wrong reasons. And let me enjoy my Brockmire for the wrong reasons.
This is kind of, for me, kind of puts the cherry on top of the sundae of who Brockmire is. There's a discussion towards the end of the episode about, oh, woe is me, Brockmire's feeling so bad about himself, he's down, and Julia says, if you're going to put a bullet in your head, blah, blah, whatever. And Brockmire's response is, oh, no, I love naps. So it's pills with a bag over my head for me. Might even draw a little smiley face on the bag. Add a little whimsy to the proceedings.
Yeah, that line got me right there. Again, like that's where I say when he's self-aware and he knows, I love that. He's not trying to be like, I would never do something like that. He's like, oh no, if I'm going out, I know the exact way I'm doing. I love my naps.
Love my naps. That's all you have to say. Oh, that is so good. Were there any parts to the show that you did not enjoy in the pilot episode?
No, I really, really liked it. It was just a pilot that was fantastic, beginning to end. He's still been an announcer. I think we've read about that. He's just gone to he's traveled the world. He speaks a little Spanish and a little Japanese because he's gone to the Philippines and Asia, and he's done cockfighting.
Yeah, that was
other sports. So it's not like he's fallen off his game. He's very much on top of his game as a sportscaster. Just from the seediest, most disgusting areas of the world, in terms of, animal fighting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Agree completely. Oh, I did remember that the major league team that he was calling was Kansas City. The Royals was the team he was calling. That's not important. What is important is I don't remember what I was going to say, so I'm going to give a few of the phrases that he uses to describe the times that other people have with his wife. Sexual astronaut was the term that was thrown out during there. Desperate lovemaking right in the center of my wife. Right in the center is my wife.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good picture.
He's very graphic about it. Like, he has no problem, making her out to be the filthy whore she is. He isn't trying to protect her or himself. He drags her right through the mud.
Oh, he snapped. And
yeah.
Well, the first scene is on air, but then he does a press conference afterwards where he begins to take off his clothes and says that I can still smell her. And what does he say? There's a lady on my face. He keeps saying there's a lady on my face, and that becomes also a thing.
Any more, or those? I mean, because I'll be honest, I've only watched one. Now, you've seen so many more seasons.
Oh, these are all from the pilot. I mean, these are just all gems from.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this is. I can't believe. I mean, now you've gone back and watched the pilot, obviously, for this show, right?
Yes, indeed.
Separately, I was like, because boy, if you can remember all those from 4 seasons, is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo, that's a good memory there. But no, I'm 4 episodes in and have not watched the pilot since the pilot. So,
my next question is, would this be better as a movie? Now, this one I've kind of gone back and forth on. I'm open to either way because I've seen everything and I love it as a, per season. But could you find a movie in here? What do you think?
Yes. I mean, I don't think it would be better. I think it's better as a serialized show. I think because it lets you get more into the character, and the enjoyment of Brockmire is getting to experience Brockmire and Hank Azaria exploring Brockmire. That's the enjoyment of the show, is finding out just more and more and more about him, peeling away the layers. So I think a movie would be great. But I can't see the movie getting to the level that the show is going to by 3 or 4 seasons. If you're still a fan after 3 or 4 seasons, I just couldn't see how a 90-minute, 2-hour movie could do that. Now, if somebody had said, hey, look, season 1 wasn't that great, or you know what, we don't think season 1's going to fly, could you bring us a 2-hour treatment on this? Then I still think they could have turned in something that would have been a great, 2.5 hour movie on IFC, or hell, even in theaters. If you had told me, Hank Azaria is in a new small little budget movie for a character he created, I would absolutely go see this in theaters. I don't think it would be better though. No, I think they could come up with something comparable.
Yeah, I think what you would lose is a relationship between him and Julia. That becomes such an integral part of everything, and I don't think that you get the nuance of that. And I think that's going to end up being your favorite part of it, because we've both been in broken relationships before, so we kind of understand the nuance of how they do their dance, and that's probably my favorite part of the show, quite honestly. Is them
I could see that, or I could see them going the other direction with the movie and making it that's the main part, where the Brockmire's pushed aside for the love interest, the meet cute, I could see a studio saying, well, we need more of the romance. He's got to be redeemable at the end. Where with on a television show, because you spend so much time with them, you don't necessarily need to have that warm, fuzzy wrap-up ending. People are more okay with letting characters be who they are on television than they are in movies. In movies, you need a good guy and a bad guy, and you need a beginning, middle, end, and people will get upset when you don't give them that structure.
That's why Last Action Hero wasn't so good. Hey, for the people watching the video at home, all those special people, we thank you very much for giving us money to do that. Couple of things. I apologize for keep moving my camera around because I'm fidgety today. That's my bad. Dell, however, has a little cat magnet in the back of him as it blows in the wind, and I've just been fascinated this whole time. So everybody enjoy that. That's right next to
that
it.
Has been up there for years. One day we were like, let's put up some like clouds, because the room is blue. I don't know if you can tell from the white balance, but we just hung up these clouds. They were supposed to stay up for like one night for a party, and they've been up here almost 6 years later.
Like your trashy neighbor that keeps their Christmas
There's
light.
one right above me. I don't know if you can hear this. There's one right above me too. So and they get dusted. I just never take them down. I don't know what that's about.
All right, let's play Netflix, shall we?
Right.
Netflix always gives suggestions for other shows to watch. That's what we want to do right now. So, again, this is not like specific. This has to be this kind of comedy. Just any other show that somebody that watches Brockmire might also like. Del, what do you say?
I said before when we were talking that This is how I expected Eastbound and Down to be when I started Eastbound and Down years ago in season 1. And I didn't care for the first season of Eastbound and Down, although I loved Andy McBride and all the other shows he's done since in that kind of universe. But this is more what I expected. But I could see people that like this really liking Eastbound and Down, a broken character who's trying to get back into his game, who isn't lovable right off the bat, but there's a lot of humor there too. So Eastbound and Down would be one I would jump to almost immediately.
Yeah, I guess the difference between these two would be he's oblivious, and I think that Brockmire's wildly non-oblivious, wildly in the moment, and wildly there with that. But I think that's a really good comparison. I've got two for you.
All right.
This little thing called Ken Burns. He did a baseball documentary. It's like 126,000 hours of baseball
That's
footage.
right. You're being generous. It's a little longer, but okay, yeah. I think it was so long, and I watched all of it, that I got to the end, and I was like, because, there's 9 innings, so there's like 9 series. And then they tacked like 3 innings on to the end of it because he just couldn't stop. And
Extra
at some point,
innings,
Ken Burns, at some point, you look at me, you've got a problem with I love you, and I love your documentaries, but you have a serious problem with editing.
I'll say an addiction. He's got an addiction.
Yeah, he does.
To old footage. That's what Ken Burns like. I'll go a different one this time. Like I said, for me, second in the all-time pantheon. Fight me over it if you want to. It's on my Twitter, so I have made it official. But if you're going to compare this to anything, you got to compare it to the best ever, and that's going to be the Larry Sanders Show. Now, obviously, there are two different type of comedies, but the humor and the subversiveness and the little nuances that it had that made it the best show ever. I think Brockmire also has that. So those two would be.
You know what? I got to go. That immediately makes me think of BoJack Horseman. It's another same thing. Great humor. It gets darker as it goes with the seasons. I mean, BoJack, by the time it ends, is absolutely one of the most heartbreaking, depressing shows of all time. It is so hard to get through.
Yep.
But it starts as a slightly dark, broken character who you really want to root for and you really like. That might be. And you know what? Neither one changed their sweaters either. Their coats and their sweaters. So, yeah, you know what? Maybe that's the closest one is BoJack Horseman. It has that same type of that comedic, almost cartoonish feel, but also real life. And even though Brockmire's real life and BoJack's animated, to me they have that same kind of crossover feel of silliness, campiness, cartooniness, but also grounded in a dark reality. So, you know what? BoJack. That one's got to be up there, too, for me.
That's the perfect answer because that's probably the third best 30-minute comedy of all time.
Yeah.
But also BoJack, he's so hyper-aware, just like Brockmire is. So I think you nailed that. That was a good comparison.
I'll hang up and take my award afterwards. Thank you.
Was this anyone's best? Now, there's a bunch of characters that are new, probably their first or second show, or maybe we just haven't really seen them a lot, so they don't really count. So let's just talk about the two big ones. Is this Hank Azaria, if I can talk today, apex? Is this his height? Is this the spot?
Yes, I would say so, because of all the things he did in The Simpsons, which I would argue is probably his best known work of art or body of work. It's only voice acting, no physical, no character. He's doing short little sound clips, where in this he has a full-fledged character. He has to carry himself a certain way. He's got to do, just acting in general, but he's got to do some great, he does some great eyeball acting. His eyeball acting in this is fantastic. And his hands too is great. But then, I've seen him act in a lot of other things too. And he's always a good actor. This, he went to being a great actor, great voice acting, great physical comedy acting, and really a character that you care about quite a bit. But I mean, this is definitely the best thing he has personally done, just because it makes him do more than he's ever had to do before. It's not just playing a sleazy car salesman or playing, a TV producer. He's got to hold the whole show up. And if Brockmire didn't work, if Hank Azaria wasn't able to pull that off, the whole show just wouldn't be worth watching at all.
I completely agree. You nailed that answer. I don't really have anything else to say because that was really good, and I agree completely. It's his own thing, and he mastered it and perfected it. So the other one would be Amanda Peet. Now, she's been in a lot of movies. This may not be it. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you say it's not. But after 4 seasons, this might be it.
See, I've only got 4 episodes, but I would say I'm enjoying her. I could take her or leave Amanda Peet, and in this, I'm really enjoying her. Their chemistry seems founded in real life, like not romantically, but it seems that they probably get along and have jokes at each other's expense when the cameras are off. They seem to play real well together in front of the camera, and so I would assume behind too, unless of course they're just professional actors and they're doing their job.
That could be it. What do you know Amanda Peet from besides this?
Oh God, I'd have to Google her, right? And you know what? I'm gonna have to right now.
A little movie called The Whole Nine Yards.
Yeah, I kind of remember her from that.
She showed her boobs in that, so that was a big thing about the movie.
That was the big thing that I remember from that. But no, there's another movie that I know I recognize her from.
Well, this is her Apex
Files. Well, yeah, considering the rest of what I'm looking at right now, 2012 by Roland Emmerich.
Ouch.
Yeah, but also, if you got to be in one of those, it's also like that guy who survived Nagasaki, Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
And both of them.
It's like, well, I don't know, if you get to go through one Roland Emmerich film, and you make it out on the other side, that's going to be kind of fun. Wasn't she in some court movie or, a John Grisham novel? For some reason that's in my head. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
You're the one looking at IMDb, friend, not me.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I remember her in Animal Room. That was good. That may be the one thing I could say that I really was a fan of her for was Animal Room. Dumb. It wasn't dumb, but it was just not what I expected, and I didn't put too much into it, and I enjoyed it.
Sounds like it's a classic.
Bare minimum.
So we reached that point, as we always do in our episode of Pilot Pass. Would you recommend? It seems like we're doing a lot of recommending. We got to get some shows that we don't recommend. So I'm going to ask.
We really do.
Oh,
the problem is
I've got some in the pipeline, and it's called Moesha.
But you know how I feel about Moesha. That was the first time I ever learned I could hate television. The television didn't have to be your friend. But the problem is we keep recommending stuff that we already like because we want to talk about it.
That's true.
We got to have, and now I let the kiddo pick out some shows. We're going to do a couple of kids shows occasionally. She even, maybe she can sit in for one or two of those, but I've started letting a few other people list some stuff too, where I'm like, oh no. Well, actually that's probably a good reason for us to do it.
Yeah, cool. We will hate podcasts.
Yes. But no, absolutely 100%. Man, if there's something right now I could say, go put it on tonight and get into this show, Brockmire is definitely up there. I'd put it up there with one of the best things I've seen in the last couple of years, up there with like but it's not the Mighty Gemstones. I'm thinking of the Mighty Boss Stones, the Righteous Gemstones.
There you go.
Just something that I immediately was like, oh my God, great. Keep going with this. Please make more of this. So I'm excited. Because when you were talking, you made it sound like it was going to be really short, like one season. So I'm at least glad to find out that it's 3 or 4. That gives me a little bit of happiness in this life.
Hopefully it should be obvious by now that I, too, recommend this show. I adore the show. I love every part of this. I love Charles. I love Julia. I love Brockmire. I love the wife. You will enjoy the wife so much. She continues to be part of the show as it goes along.
Yeah, she just came back in at the last episode I watched.
Yeah, because she ends the pilot. It ends the pilot with her and her little outfit or whatever. So
yeah, that was the thing that got me is when they reintroduce her. Well, it doesn't start with her. It starts with
the story of her.
The story of her, her pet, you can almost say. So she's become, I'm assuming, an interesting character. So I'm looking to see how this moves forward. But that's, man, go get yourself some Brockmire. Put that in your eyeballs, people.
Go Brockmire it up indeed. This has been another episode. Keep it Brockmire. Keep it Brockmire. This has been Pilot Pass. We talked about Brockmire. It actually had a name. I don't think I said the name today. The name of this episode is Rally Cap. So they're even creative enough to name their pilot. So that should tell you all.
I like when shows do that.
Yeah, it's not just pilot.
Yeah, I think the only one I know there's been a couple, but Futurama did that too. I think it was, the season has landed or something like that. Mm-hmm. No, it was Space Pilot 3000. That's what it was. They got pilot in there and they made it unique. So I like that.
Excellent.
Episode 2 was called The Series Has Landed. So I thought that was a cute little one.
That is pretty smart. Pretty smart. We are finally up on all of your favorite podcasting avenues, even those janky ones that apparently Dell still uses.
I love my Player FM, folks. I love it.
iTunes and Spotify, wherever else you get your podcast from. Tune into that. Join us on the social medias where we'll be doing things and such and whatnot. So for the people, is there anything left to tell them today, Dell?
No, you know what? We have a Do we have an email address? You know what? Hit us up on Twitter if we don't have the email address, or hit us up on Facebook and start making some recommendations. What shows do you guys want us to talk about? Do they suck? Are they great? Yes, we're going to do Comrade Detective. Yes, we know people were going to get to Desmond Pfeiffer and his secret diary. But let us know some other shows, some terrible shows. We're going to do Friends at some point. Maybe we'll like it. Maybe we won't. Maybe I've never seen an episode, and that's really weird, according to some of you. But hit us up on Facebooks and the Twitters and wherever else you see us, and let us know what you want to hear.
Until next time, let's go watch some Small Wonder.
Let's go watch some more Brockmire.